Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
How are you?
How are you? How are you?
You can't answer probably, but
No.
you can, but we can't hear you.
Yeah.
You
So
definitely can comment in the comments though, and we can read those.
yeah, please do that. We are doing our Q&A area in the place where we're going to be doing lots of filming and recording things over the next, we'll just say over the next several weeks. This is how we're going to be doing things. So we might be talking a little louder than we normally do because we want to make sure we're heard.
It's not because we're mad.
No, not mad at all. We were talking about this yesterday. We've been meeting electronically with lots of different people over the last week, and it's funny how, like, I know that I have I know I have adjusted my voice
And it joisted your box.
yes, to that reality over the last few days in different environments. So Deb says, "Howdy, WestWay family." So we're just gonna go that you can hear us. Yeah. So this is what we're doing. This is our little stage area that we're setting up for stuff. On Sunday we talked about fear and how we deal with fear. So, is there any, like, is there anything that you are afraid of right now? And how is that kind of manifesting itself? Like, are you living with some big scale, small scale? Is there anything you're afraid of right now? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm not afraid of getting sick. I'm more afraid of giving sickness to somebody else.
Okay.
I think early on I said something about, I don't care if I get it, I just don't want to be the one that starts it in the area that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little bit silly, but I'm a little concerned that we could overreact and do more damage than the virus itself will do in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that to minimize anything that is going on with the virus. I know it's a huge deal. And for people in our area, I would say we need to realize it is a much bigger deal in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
And some of those places aren't that far away. But I know we have former students that are all over the world, really, and I have former students that are in lockdown in France right now with his family. He has many children, and they're all locked in together, and it's been fun to watch as they process through everything and being stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
But having that opportunity to actually love each other close up and personal for an extended time in ways that we don't usually have, because we ship our kids off to school and we get busy with lots of other things. It's been awesome to see how they've responded. We have families here that have students in New York City, right in the middle of kind of what is our biggest hotspot in the States.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is scary. Our oldest daughter is in Omaha, and I wouldn't say that it's a hot spot, but it is much more of a problem there than it is here.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously there's concern for people that are closer to communities where the virus is running a little more rampant.
Yeah.
Honestly, what has concerned me a lot is sort of the mindlessness of some of our responses. I think there's a lot of pressure to look like we're doing something, and so we just do something that seems like it might help, that actually could do more damage than helping. Mm-hmm. So there is definitely a lot of fear running around. I don't tend to be a fearful person, and so I'm not cowering in a corner somewhere in a fetal position. I don't mean to make fun of you if you are. Maybe a little.
We're just pointing it out.
I don't tend to respond in fear quite like that. But there is definitely a lot of uncertainty right now, and I think uncertainty in our lives definitely lends itself toward fearful behaviors and responses.
Yeah. I'm one of the things that I'm noticing, I'm fearful of forgetting little things.
Yeah.
So we set up this, well, we didn't. This little stage area was set up for us over the past couple days. And one of the things that I said I would do is I would bring some taller chairs in here. And it's like, for me, those little details, and this isn't like a grand forget, these are little fears.
Yeah.
Little details like that I'm forgetting are revealing in me some just some deeper issues in my own life. Probably like
Yeah.
like how what fear is manifesting itself is like I had this and then I lost it. Like I think it's a fear of losing control.
Right.
So I talked a little bit about this. That's one of the things I talked about on Sunday. Is like throughout my entire life, I have had a real desire to be in control of things that are happening in my life. And when I forget a little thing like, oh man, I've been saying for 2 days that I was going to bring these chairs here, all of that fear of not being in control and not having in control impacts me, because then I take those things personally in what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And I know that's a really, not bringing chairs in here, that's not a big deal. And that's not a big deal because that's not the issue. The issue is I have a desire to be in control.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen, I fall into self-judgment because I'm so stupid that it's funny, when I came up here this morning and I saw the chair, my first thought was, I'm so stupid because I left those chairs at home. And that there are lots of things that make me stupid. That's not one of the things that makes me stupid, is the fact that I forgot chairs.
Yeah.
But these little things, it's so interesting how these little things that I'm doing or not doing are revealing in me issues that I've wrestled with and struggled with for my entire life.
Yeah. When we came to the question on Sunday, if you didn't watch the message, you should go back and find that.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch that on here, or you can watch that on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the questions during the pause periods was something about, what were you afraid of as a kid?
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about that in our family, some different things. And for me, the thing that came to mind was I was always afraid that I would be forgotten. Not like left somewhere, but that the people wouldn't remember me.
Yeah.
And Luann said, was that because you moved a lot? And that might have played into it, but I think that also played into, I kind of grew up with the idea that control is an illusion anyway.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that doesn't always stop me from trying to be into control of everything.
Right.
But it helps me when I realize things are out of my control, just to remember they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember growing up feeling like we would go back and visit a town where I would used to live, and I was just so insecure about those people aren't going to remember me. Those kids I went to school with all the time, and sometimes that was the case, and sometimes it wasn't. it was just funny how that fear came to mind at this point. Not that there's anything going on as far as being forgotten or anything like that. It's just funny how our fears all kind of get interconnected and engaged together to where something as small as forgetting a chair leads me to feel like, oh, I'm an idiot. Kind of like you said, there might be lots of other reasons I'm an idiot, but it's not that one.
Yeah.
And so, I do think people are definitely, at least at a low grade, fearful state right now, just collectively. And I think that's a dangerous state to be in. My mom just said on here that everyone remembers me. At least my mom does, so that's okay. That's good.
I think a lot of what's happening now on a cultural level is I talked about this on Sunday. I think there are some things that are starting to be revealed, just how shaky the systems and structures that we typically place our hopes in.
Yeah.
How just what's starting to come out is how shaky those systems and structures really are. Like I made so I have this thing called Acorns, which is kind of like a money saving thing. And what they do, long story short, they take a little bit of money out of your checking account every week and they invest it in the stock market. Well, that was a mistake to look at last night because what I learned is over the last month, my Acorns account has lost almost 30% of its of what was in it is now 30% less, and it's not like I am not the little guy from the Monopoly board, where I'm this I'm this stock market tycoon.
So I only have $3 now instead of $5.
Yeah. So it's not like I had a whole ton of money in there anyway.
Yeah.
But 30%.
Right.
The initial response was, oh wow, that's a really big hit. And then I very quickly went to, you know what? Like it's gone. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And for me, all of these systems and structures that people have placed their hopes in for years and years and years and years are now very quickly eroding all around us.
Yeah.
And people are starting to ask real questions. What do I do when all of this stuff that I hoped in and trust in, and we probably wouldn't, I would say most people wouldn't go there and say, this is, like,
right.
If I were to interview someone on the street and say, what are you placing your hope and trust in? They probably wouldn't say the stock market. They would probably say something significantly more noble than that. But the reality of it is, for many people, like when you just look at what's happening culturally and how people are responding culturally,
yeah, what
people are saying their hope and trust in and where their hope and trust really is in are two different things.
Yeah, I think we've lived in a way as a society where functionally our hope is maybe in the income that we get from our jobs,
yeah,
that we can sock away for the future.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in the system of government that we live under, that they will provide for all of us together. Maybe we put our hope in just the security of owning a home. And yeah, I think right now the foundations of all of that are being shaken. And what remains when this is done is going, like the foundation of the church isn't being bothered at all.
Right.
God is still on his throne. Christ is still at his right hand. and the love that he has and the spirit that he has given us with which to share that love, those are still intact.
Yeah.
And those will not be shaken. And I think we as the church have, in some ways I want to say opportunity, but more than that, I think we have responsibility right now to stand still in our world and not run around like chickens with our head cut off buying toilet paper.
Right. Right.
I still don't get that. Sorry.
Well,
we have a responsibility to provide peace and show people where they can find it.
Right.
Because all the things that they thought, like, this is my security, I have this nest egg set aside. Yeah, maybe in 10 years that nest egg is going to be built back up, but what if I don't have 10 years?
Yeah.
What if I have to retire now?
Yeah. Because
my business is going bankrupt and
right.
I'm done.
Right.
Whether I want to be or not. All that security it's gone. It's been flushed. We have to share with people where real peace and security comes from. A peace that, as Scripture says it, passes all understanding.
Right.
A lot of times when I'm reading that, the thought that goes through my mind is peace that doesn't make sense. I think one of the things that I have thought about over the years is, as Christians, we need to live questionable lives. We need to live lives that cause people to have questions, like, why are you that way? Why are you not freaking out about this?
Right.
Why do you only have 6 weeks worth of toilet paper at your house? We got like 6 months.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
What are you going to do when that runs out? Well,
buy more.
I have confidence that there is more to my life than needing to buy more toilet paper. I don't know why I keep talking about toilet paper.
Well, I thought it was interesting too. Like, so this is, I think we really try hard to be apolitical in this whole situation.
We do.
And I thought
sometimes really hard.
Yeah, but I thought it was so funny that the response is, hey, let's give everyone $1,000. So this entire and okay, do not send me an email. Okay, I don't care. Right now, my email inbox has 40 million emails that I haven't read. Do not send me an email right now because I'm making a political point. I'm not going to read it, and I don't care. It's interesting how this entire economic system that has been built up and that is now being shaken to the core, and the response is, let's send them more money.
Yeah.
So all of the things that you placed and hoped you built your trust around is now failing. So here's what we want to do. We want to give you more of that. We know that sugar and carbs is a terrible way for your long-term health, for you to eat. So here's more candy, because that'll be the solution for you.
Yeah.
And it's so like mind-bogglingly stupid. And I just it's interesting, and all of this to say, people are asking real questions.
Yeah.
And they deserve real answers. And this will be unpopular, and don't send me an email about this either. This will be unpopular. But as Christians, we have answers to those questions that people are asking. And they're not just words on a page for us, but they're the way that we live our lives.
Yeah.
And this is what you're talking about. The answer to what do we do in the midst of all this craziness is not join the masses and go buy more toilet paper. The answer is to provide a counter to the life that people are living. Now I want you to talk about, you said something happened in Denver yesterday, and I want you to talk about that for a second.
Well, you might have already seen, I think maybe it's tonight that they enact a shelter-in-place order in Denver. So basically, you may leave your home only for essential services, which in itself is a really interesting idea. Like, how are we deciding which workers are essential?
Right.
And if I'm not essential, how do I feel about that right now?
Right.
This is another place I think where the church is. I know this is not what you were.
Nope, you're fine. You're good.
This is another place where the church, I think, really needs to step into people's lives and let every person know, whether their job thinks so or not, they are essential.
Yeah.
Every person has value, and that value does not come from whether you're a nurse or a paper pusher. Your value comes from the fact that you are made in the image of God, and He loves you, period. And I think we need to, again, we have a responsibility to make sure that people in our lives know they are essential.
Yeah.
So I know that's a little aside.
No, that is outstanding.
They
That
issued
is,
this
man,
order.
you took that up to like the existential level, and that was perfect.
So they issued this order that's in place in a lot of places. Denver is the closest one that I've heard of so far. But you have to stay at home unless you need like to go get groceries. Like, there's limited amounts of things that you can go out for.
Right.
And immediately there was a lot of pushback on what's essential and what's not essential. And we've even had this question as ministers.
Right.
When this stuff is going on at a federal level. I know you and I have both seen some stuff from some of that. Asking the federal government to define, is ministry an essential function? Are we allowed to go to work and do what we do? Which, according to that set of circumstances last week, I'm glad to say that
still essential.
The federal government said that ministry services are essential.
Good.
But there's pushback on, like, here's our list of things that are essential. And one of the things that was immediately a problem, I guess, for people in Denver was that alcohol and recreational pot were not on the list of essential services.
So
yes,
stop for a minute.
Recreational.
So stop for a minute. I want you right now to think about what Mike just said. There was conversation about whether or not alcohol or recreational marijuana was essential. Just I'm gonna count to 5, and I want you to think about that. Continue.
Well, they ultimately decided that yes, alcohol is an essential service right now at this time. And recreational pot as well is an essential product that we've got to have available to people. It's okay to go out for this stuff was the kind of the official conclusion. And it goes back to what you're talking about. People are looking for real answers, but man, they're looking in places that are not going to help.
And I would say some of us right now, when we just heard that, our mind went to a lower shelf response to that. And the lower shelf response is, we live in a crazy world. How can recreational marijuana and alcohol be considered essential? Like, we've kind of stopped there, but I want you, what Mike is now talking about is how are we coping, which is a deeper, so probably the opposite way. How are we coping with these realities? That's the deeper issue that needs to be addressed here. Not whether or not recreational marijuana and alcohol is essential. Like, that's such a surface level, easy picking conversation for us to have. And as Christians, we want to have the deeper one, which is how are we coping in the midst of this? Yeah,
so I guess for me, I keep coming back to this passage in Philippians. And I posted about this the other day, just thinking about, we are bombarded right now with a flood of bad news. Mm-hmm. And this is going wrong, and this is how bad it is, and it's going to get worse, and it's coming to your area too if it's not there yet. And it's terrible. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of bad news to talk about. Even, interestingly, even beyond coronavirus. There's a lot of bad news that we could be talking about. Or, like Paul said to the church in Philippi, maybe we should fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all you learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you. This isn't some bury your head in the sand and pretend like the bad news isn't happening.
Right.
But what are our minds fixed on? What are we giving our attention to? I think a lot of times we talk about stewardship and we think of money. Sometimes we think about time. I think right now we have an opportunity to practice the stewardship of our attention. And I know there was a day last week where it just kind of hit me like a brick upside the head. It's like, what are you paying attention to right now? And I was filling my mind with COVID news. I could tell you things about coronavirus and stuff that I had never thought about before in my entire life, just like everybody else that hadn't heard of it. And I was filling my mind with, this is happening in China, and now it's spread to South Korea, and now it's here, and look what's happening in Italy, and look at New York and Washington. And it's just like, I had to stop and take a deep breath, and it's kind of like, why are you fixing your mind on that? Fix your mind on what is true and honorable and right. That doesn't mean the bad stuff isn't happening. It just means that it doesn't have my full attention.
Right.
It doesn't have my focus. I want to think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. And this isn't just a thought exercise. Paul says, put into practice all you learned and received from me. Do the things that I showed you to do.
Yeah.
And for us as Christians, that means loving our neighbor. It means caring about the people around us, even the sick ones. One of the things that has marked the church through lots of different eras of time has been our response to medical emergencies. From the Roman Empire all the way through, there have been moments in time where these plagues were just devastating communities, and people were abandoning loved ones and just leaving them. And Christians were going into these communities and caring for people. Christians were the ones, because we value life differently, who could go into these crappy situations and risk our own lives sometimes because we're following the example of Jesus, who humbled himself even to the point of death on a cross. We have some big responsibilities right now, and we're going to miss those if we are so consumed by the bad news that's happening right now. So fix your thoughts on things above. Fix your thoughts on Christ. I would say another kind of related thought yesterday that came to my mind specifically for church leaders. I know you got a lot of church leader friends. I've got a lot of church leader friends. We need to make sure that we stop and rest sometimes. And I know we're not always very good at doing that. But I think that's one of the things that helps us to fix our minds on what is true and right, and stay tuned to what God is wanting to do. I think sometimes we just need to take time to read a good book, meditate on a favorite passage of Scripture. I think sometimes we need to just take some time and visit an online art gallery or something. Look at something beautiful. Create something beautiful. Maybe you need to practice writing some songs. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you can paint something or do some sculpture. Maybe you can tame your yard during this time. I think one of the things that we should be doing is creating order out of this chaos. And then we not only are fixing our own mind, I think we can create things that will help others have something else to focus on. So yeah, essential services, pretty exciting stuff.
We want to encourage all of you that are watching this and taking part in this, really to, like, we talked about this when we went through the book of Ephesians. We talked about this as we are wrapping up 1 Timothy this coming Sunday. So much of everything that's been talked about in these texts are being prepared for what's coming. And I mean, the whole thing about the farmer planting the seed and the athlete training for all of those contexts are about preparing for what's coming. And now we're in that space where, like, the prep work is being, like, we're through the prep work. And are we ready to do the things that God has for us? And there are tremendous opportunities right now for us to reach out to people and demonstrate the love that Christ has for them. And if this sounds familiar, we've probably talked about this every Tuesday Q&A for the last few weeks as we've known this is ramping up. We talked about it in the message on Sunday. I know it's going to be talked about in the message this coming Sunday, and everything else after this is like we have opportunities to live out our faith in completely different ways than what people are anticipating for us to be in. Not demonstrating fear, being first responders and moving towards the situation. And we can't do that if all we're doing is thinking about how we need more toilet paper. So now I'll press on it. We can't be living the lives that God's called us to if all we're doing is focusing on the same systems and structures that everyone else is focusing on, that are just as meaningless and just as empty. So we would press on you today to really lean into Christ and find that peace that you were talking about, that Ann talked about on Sunday during our message time. And we want to see, like, this conversation continue. So if you have thoughts and questions about how you might do that, we'd love for you to reach out to us. If you have needs that go beyond, hey, I need 14 more cases of toilet paper in my house, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. And we'll see you on Sunday. We have a few things that we're working on right now for ways for people to continue to gather and connect in an online way. We'll have that out over the next 24 hours or so, because we've moved small groups to Zoom. We have a Sunday school class that's going to be meeting on Sunday morning via Zoom. So there are lots of little shifts that we're making so that we're ready for this. And I'm excited because I think this really is an opportunity for us to function and serve other people in a different way.
Yeah.
And love them well.
Was it this morning that you shared the passage, don't be conformed to the pattern?
Yeah, Romans 12:2.
That really, I think, is the key to all of this. The world is falling into a pattern of fearful response, and we need to not conform to that pattern right now, but instead be transformed by the renewing of our minds. That happens as we soak our minds in Scripture instead of your favorite news media.
Right.
Whichever one that might be.
And don't send us an email about that either.
You can if you want.
Okay. Hey,
You won't see it anyway.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys so much for the way that many of you are modeling who Jesus is in the middle of this time. And we look forward to continue to be able to do that with you. Yeah. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And we will see you the next time we do this.
See ya.